Welcome to another episode of Becoming a Professional. I'm your host, Mangala. Riley's behind the camera working the equipment as we're recording from Orlando, Florida.
Hey guys, how's it going?
So before we introduce our special guest today, let's go through our usual housekeeping. This episode is brought to you by the National Chapter of Beta Alpha Psi, an enormous appreciation for their support. Please make sure to sign up for the Alumni Member Network if you haven't already, so we can easily connect and have y'all experience all of the benefits that the network has to offer. And a disclaimer, the opinions on this podcast are our own and may not reflect the position of Beta Alpha Psi or our respective employers as a whole. So, without further ado, today's episode, we have a very special guest, a lecturer from the University of Auckland, the Business School of Auckland, sorry. He is also Beta Alpha Psi's Oceania Region Chapter
I'm looking forward to you
Advocate.
trying to say my surname, so let's go.
Oh,
Let's go, no pressure, Mangala.
Well, I was just about to say, Fred, the ORCA, right? The ORCA. Fred Ng.
Excellent.
Lovely.
Full marks.
Brilliant. Okay. So, straight into the origin story. We love a good origin story. So, Fred, we've worked for a long time, but I still don't really know much of your origin story.
Have I not talked about myself before to you? Awkward. Okay.
Well, clearly I'm not special enough then. But where did you start? Like, how did it all come about? Like, that journey?
Yeah. So my origin story as it relates to Beta Alpha Psi, ORCA, my career and all that. So how it all began is I count myself very blessed. When you gave me this prompt, I was thinking about what I was going to say. I count myself very blessed that my parents had always made sure to think, Fred, you do what you want to do in life. I don't mind
That's
what
right.
it is. Think about what you are passionate and energetic about and go ahead and do that. So I'm very blessed to do that. But unfortunately, me being me, spin any blessing into a curse and any curse into a blessing, said, well, I like too many things. I pick up hobbies like it changes whether in Auckland or changes whether in Orlando. Every hour I'll pick up something new. So, but anyway, at the end of my high school, I had whittled it down to two things I wanted to do. Firstly, to enter the restaurant hospitality industry, chef, whatever, or study business at university.
There you go.
The clincher was realizing that one of these makes a better hobby than the other. Cooking is a better hobby than doing accounting.
Yes.
Chiefly because you can't practice without training, etc. So then I decided that was the mix I'll do. I'll study accounting, business subjects at university.
Right.
At university, I started with accounting, economics, and finance
Wow.
as subjects I was considering.
Uh-huh.
But then listen to that ongoing parent narrative, which is very helpful in this case, to just follow what interested me.
Great.
Economics and finance I did well at, but were too heavy into calculus, which I can do, but not my strong suit. So I pursued accounting as my course of study, as my course of major, which is slightly ironic because my accounting grades were never as good as my economics and finance grades, but listening to what I cared about personally led to that. Then when it came to my major starting to finish, my studies starting to finish, I realized I didn't want to go into practice because another of my latent true loves came about. True loves in terms of career and profession came about, which is to teach.
Right.
So the idea of teaching accounting, being in an education space was more interesting to me.
Right.
So that segued into studying a postgraduate degree, an honors degree, to a PhD, and now here I am.
There we go.
I've done all my studies and all my career at one place, University of Auckland.
Did they give you commission?
So
So
I am paid to be there.
Well,
So.
true. So how about the exposure to Beta Alpha Psi though? How did that come about?
Yep. So exposure to Beta Alpha Psi, one of the things I love to do is help my colleagues. And I remember one day, one of my colleagues, Julie Harrison, who was the previous ORCA,
Yep.
Oceania Regional Chapter Advocate.
We love the term ORCA though.
It's not a bad term, is it?
Yes.
And I'm glad that you're talking it up, because the ORCA term, Oceania Region Chapter Advocate, was coined by me. So of course, of course, I love that it's picked up common use.
Fun fact.
Because we were trying to say what's a faster way of saying it. The letters worked out. So
Right.
there we are.
So I still remember you actually said that to me all those years ago, right? Like you
Yeah.
introduced yourself as the ORCA.
Yeah.
But so you coined a term.
I did coin the
Right,
term.
no wonder. Okay, I thought it was a term.
big secret revealed that it was me. So
Now I finally know. Anyway.
So Julie was looking a little bit more flustered at the end of the day than I remember her typically looking.
Okay.
So I said, "Oh, Julie, what's going on? Is there anything else I can help with? Anything I can help with?" And she said, "Oh, well, I'm organizing a conference for," which it turned out to be Beta Alpha Psi. I just didn't know what those letters meant at the time. And so I said, "Okay, can I help?" So I helped with some organizing, some printing, some formatting. And she said, "Oh, Fred, why don't you come along to the event? I think you'll get a lot out of it."
All right.
And so it turned out to be the regional meeting, now called
Yes.
mid-year meeting,
Yes.
at Auckland.
Right.
I came along. Who are all these talented, diligent, energetic students? Intriguing.
Right.
Tell me more. That led to the pathway of maybe we can get you on board as a co-advisor, eventually then a faculty advisor, and now a chapter advocate.
Nice. So this is the 2017 meeting. Is that right?
I try not to think how long ago some things are, but I believe you would be correct.
Fun fact, that was my first time I was in New Zealand, like that meeting. And
That explains why you remember it.
Yeah, exactly. I do remember it. And also I do remember the ORCA term started there. So now I know. Anyway, I'm just gonna remember that. But yeah, actually though, I do wonder, what is it like to serve as a chapter advocate?
Yeah. All levels of amazing and wonderful and hard work, I guess, is a brief summary of that.
Good. Yep.
Then when pressed for more details, practically what I do is I bridge between the strategic, the top level arm of Beta Alpha Psi, which is the executive office, the presidents, the board, and how that gets implemented in practicality, in day-to-day terms.
Right.
So the chapter advocates serve as the bridge between what the board directs to the faculty advisors. So we are the coaches and the mentors for the faculty advisors, who then look after the majority of the club, which is the student body. Okay, so that goes up, down. It also goes down, up as issues are raised by students, then go to faculty advisors. We then package that up and take issues to the board. Practically, that's what I do. There are meetings involved with a lot of passionate, wonderful people. There is paperwork to fill out and all that sort of thing. So, but that's practicality. To actually come back to the question you actually asked, what's it like being a chapter advocate? The analogy I've settled on, it's like you're a sled driver
Okay.
for a whole pack of highly energetic, very strong Alaskan Huskies. They have
love these
energy, they have passion, they have drive. They will run faster and do more than anything you could possibly do or dream of.
Yes.
And it is so therefore my job to pull as hard as I can on the reins to prevent burnout and to make sure we're all moving in the same direction.
There we go.
So it's such a delight because you are surrounded by people who care so deeply
Yes.
about these things. And so my blessed job is to say, all right, let's get the sled going in a good direction.
Yes.
Let's keep everyone from running away wildly and from tiring themselves out too much.
There we go. I mean, yeah, so we have a lot of listeners, students, like faculty advisors. I guess to the faculty advisors listening to this, like what advice would you give them? Actually, first of all, why should they become chapter advocate? And also, what advice would you give them?
Yeah. So why to become a chapter advocate? I think one of the main reasons we see people becoming chapter advocates is because they have a delight, a fulfilling and enriching time as faculty advisors. And the opportunity comes up because there's a bit more space in their career, or there's a bit more stability, or the opportunity rises, and they say, yes, I'd like to take that next step. I'd like to give a bit more to the region. As to why it becomes fulfilling, a lot of faculty advisors, as I've just mentioned, get a lot out of, a lot of fulfillment, contribution, etc., working with a lot of students. It's like that, but meta. So you are now able to help, guide, coach, lead, mentor others who are also doing this work.
Love.
So it's a very amplifying effect.
Yes.
You know, faculty advisors, the ideal model, we don't do everything ourselves.
Yes.
We work with students, we work with partners to get the mission going. Like that at the next level.
Right.
How can you work with faculty advisors, empower them, share best practices, share stories, have a bit more say in getting these people to work together?
Right.
So if you find yourself addicted to making a difference and empowerment and would like to get it to the next level, the chapter advocate position is a natural next step.
There you go.
Only one of us per region, which means that in smaller regions like Oceania, 9, soon to be 10 chapters, the opportunity comes up more often.
Yes.
I see Evnit over there. I don't know if we're allowed to draw attention to people behind cameras. Her region has 75 chapters, so put your hand up.
There we go. Okay. You mentioned one word that I really want to pick on, Fred. Mentor. Right? Like mentor. It's important to mentor. And I have had the joys of seeing your wonderful mentoring programs that you've run in the University of Auckland, wearing the faculty advisor hat, I think, not the chapter
It would be the
advocate
faculty
hat,
advisor
right?
hat, yeah.
You wear so many hats. I don't. Yeah.
Which is
Too many.
which is a delightful analogy to bring up, because in my personal style I do not wear hats. So at least professionally I can wear lots of hats. Carry on.
Hats. Yes. But mentoring. You are really great at sort of setting up all these mentoring programs. So I guess what's the secret sauce? And I guess, do you want to share, for the benefit of our listeners, what the mentoring program looks like at the University of Auckland?
Yeah.
And how does that compare when you see other mentoring programs throughout our region, like within, Monash, Melbourne, but also like broadly through your interactions as chapter advocate with the other, different regions, mentoring programs, right? How do they?
So there is no secret sauce. Or if you want to use the analogy of the hamburger chain, it is advertised as secret, but it's ketchup, mustard, pickle, and mayonnaise. So it's a structure which just draws on a lot of very core common practices. So what we do at the University of Auckland is we have a structure where when I was faculty advisor, now Julie, will work with the leadership team, right? Just to talk about questions such as, what do you see coming out of the year ahead as leadership? What are your career intentions? Reflect briefly on your skills, your strengths and weaknesses. And then, rather than us doing the mentoring work, what we do is we just buddy them up. And what we do is we buddy them up with somebody who has been an alumni, ideally who has served equivalent or similar positions, to then get that connection going through. So then when I was running it, I would have a coffee or dinner or lunch catch up with them to say, all right, let's get you all comfortable talking to each other. I'll ask a few coaching questions around, so what are you afraid of in life? So what are you deeply insecure about? And then I will leave that to... Well, you see, I, as you may have gathered from the past 20 minutes, have very little shame when it comes to asking or presenting things. But these are important questions in and around mentorship. So then after that, after I beat Oprah Winfrey, I leave them to go and work amongst themselves.
Yep.
So, few key arms there. It's just opening that conversation between like and like.
Yeah.
So as faculty advisor with that longer history, I can broker and see these relationships.
Uh-huh.
It is asking a few probing questions
Yeah.
to get to richer conversations faster,
Mm-hmm.
and then giving them space, because I am only one person. And I, like the rest of you all, am a mere mortal with 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Surprise, surprise.
Yes.
Despite all of the...
Surprise, despite all wearing the hats.
Yes. Okay.
So then when it comes to what other chapters are rolling out,
Yeah.
it is more and more, just because I'm very evangelical about this model, and my mentees, the people that have been mentors and mentees are also very sharing about this, have also started rolling out very similar processes.
Yes.
But other common models that we see are, so just within that leadership team, within the student leadership team, the president, co-president, etc., will serve as coaches to students. Or maybe after a particular session with professional partners, the professional partner will be approached or approach students to say, shall we do some coffee catch-ups and mentorships and so on. And then the other very common model is that the faculty advisor has one-on-one time with particular students as needed. I would counsel that, as deeply passionate as you may be personally to do mentorship, you are, I'm sorry to say, only one person.
Yes.
And so a lot of value comes around when the opportunity, when the chance comes to you to broker relationships, broker potential mentorships.
Right.
Because it's the joy of brokering is that you don't have to literally do it yourself.
Nice.
But
Nice.
the other joy of it is that it has a gratifying, amplifying effect. You know, I can see all these connections grow up. And it also is helpful because it's that nudge for a student to say, why don't we organize you a mentor? And they go, oh, I never thought I'd be important enough or valuable enough to have a mentor. So that's not just it. Then you also talk to the mentor to say, I think you'd be great for this. And there's a similar parallel effect there of, oh, I'm very new to my job.
Yeah.
My only qualifications are I had a similar role to them. Who am I? What am I going to do as a mentor? So there's that dual empowerment of the mentee, yes, you are worth being invested in. The mentor, yes, I think you can give back to a lot.
Wow. Yeah. That's secret sauce, I guess.
Yes, which is just a mix
Anyway.
of ketchup, mayo, a bit of mustard, and pickle.
That's it. So in addition to mentoring, how else can, I guess, we get the students and alumni to pay it forward?
So I think that little model in and around everybody who's passionate, diligent, works hard, etc., has had life experiences. All they have to do is just reflect on that, and then there are avenues and channels, therefore, in which they can give back. And I think it's a case of, when you're looking to pay it forward, pay attention to all these team members around you and give them that very firm but very reassuring push that I think you can take a next step. I think you can help out. I think you can mentor. I think you can be chapter advocate, and so on. Why don't you give it a go? It's freaky, I know. What can we do there? Okay. Again, this comes back down to we're all kind of only one person.
Yes.
Unless you're a conjoined twin, but then you are constrained by physicality, and that comes with other issues.
Wow.
But there I think they're literally classified as two people.
Yes.
So we'll not go down that rabbit hole.
Yes.
And I think that amplifying effect, that coaching, that mentoring, that brokering relationships is a way of paying it forward, which I don't think a lot of people think that way.
Yes. Brokering, right? Like being able to provide your sort of connections.
To serve as an
relationships.
intermediary, an agent, a connector, a facilitator.
Right.
Has a lot of benefit, and it's not a common role.
Mm-mm. So I guess why is it important to engage the students and alumni in the first place?
Yeah. So by engaging, you mean to reach out and interact?
Yeah, to reach out, interact, and
ask
have that
questions.
one-on-one conversation with them, and really get them to engage, right? Like I mean, like it's
Yeah.
as a lecturer, I'm thinking about like lecturing, like you can deliver a class to like 100 students and done, right? Like
I would love to deliver to a class of 100. The University of Auckland is very blessed with large class sizes. So as much as I love teaching and marking for 350 students, it would be nice to a third of the class and have only 100 students. But I understand our market is a bit different. So as you may have gathered, I am somebody that gets a lot out of interaction,
absolutely.
human engagement, connections, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And so at a personal level, I get a lot of enrichment.
Mm-hmm.
The cup is full, the battery is recharged, and so on. And so that's why I have always been drawn to it. I think when it comes to if you are naturally extroverted, never confident about that term, but if you're naturally a bit more extroverted, having these connections and being intentional about how it fits into a personal strategy, very useful, okay, is a case of then bringing energy, uplift, detection of problems, and motivation to others around you. Use your energy for good, spread it for good, and so on.
Cool.
That's why I have found it, useful, and why I encourage others who are more gregarious to do that. Add a bit of intentionality to it. At the same time, there are also those who have the label of introversion, again, never fully sure about that term, for which these things are a bit more of a struggle. As somebody who's extroverted, but with an introverted partner, introverts have a phenomenal amount to bring to the world. Turns out, if what you do as a chief operation is to sit, reflect, do diligent work, you have something very important to say and very important to share. And so for those situations, it's a case of lending perspective, insight, structure, and then also critically, making sure that you yourself are seen and welcomed into the world. It's scary, I know, kind of why I spend a lot of time facilitating and brokering, so that people like me, who will talk all day and then suffer through sore throats the next few days, but then talk through it anyway, will invite the voices of those that are naturally a little bit more quiet.
Right, and empower them.
Yeah, and empower them.
Yeah.
So thinking about those models, thinking about what some people bring to the party, what other people bring to the party,
Right.
I think that bringing together of these people is always useful.
Yes.
Which is why when it comes to, so why do we think it's important to go out and engage? It's because people are brought together and talking.
Yes, and that's a key skill, like communication and right, like, and you said empower, to give them that sort of voice, potentially like help them with public speaking even, right?
Yeah, public speaking. I like every other human out there, am utterly terrified of public speaking. I tell all my
You don't
students.
look it, though.
Thank you. 37 years of practicing from birth, not to let fear show. That has other issues, baggage with it, but we won't talk about those. So one of the things I always tell my students, oh, Fred, I love the way you teach. I love the energy you bring. How do you do it? Right. And then I let them in on the open secret, open because I'm telling everybody, and I do tell everybody, when I am prior, like just moments before getting ready to teach, there is a deep and thorough anxiety and flight response in me. I just want to quit the room. I just want to leave. Can we not just have recorded this and go? I understand that is an entirely normal response because you're about to be judged. You're about to present yourself. You're about to be put out there. One of the moments I remember watching on Netflix, because I am a human and I watch
Yes.
Netflix, is
Yeah.
the Jennifer Lopez getting ready for the halftime Super Bowl show.
What? Okay.
A-
Okay.
A very, very enjoyable documentary. And one of the scenes I remember is that moment just before they go out to perform.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super talented, super wonderful, years and years and years of practice. And they've rehearsed for this endlessly. And then just the look on their faces of, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like jumping, relieving nerves. So they have it too. So of course we will have it too.
There
So
you
yes,
go.
when it comes to practice and public speaking, give it a go.
Yes.
It's showtime.
absolutely.
If
Well,
J-Lo can do it, you can do it too.
J-Lo's going on the show notes, I guess. That's right. Like,
Please don't ask me what the name of that documentary is, because it has escaped my short-term memory.
I'm just gonna have to Netflix that after this.
You can use any of the powerful search tools out there to find it.
Yes, and that's what I was actually gonna ask next. You know, like, I mean, you're
What about Jennifer
very
Lopez's
experienced-
next
Well,
documentary? I've just told you I don't know the title
I was
of
just
it.
gonna say the powerful search tools. I mean, you inferring AI perhaps or something like that. More broadly though, like before we get into the AI rabbit hole, like right. Given your experience,
As a zodiac, Chinese zodiac rabbit, I've always wondered about the use of the term rabbit hole.
okay,
Tunnels.
tunnels.
Other words we could use are labyrinth or maze, but okay, sorry.
Okay, before we go down the
Why don't,
AI,
why don't we
labyrinth.
carry on with the conversation
No,
rather
love
than
it.
me, which is
You're full-
this is for the people at home. This is something I enjoy doing to Mangala. I enjoy enriching vocabulary and experiences.
Yes, absolutely. I absolutely need it. And you know what? Like,
And the other
I've
thing I enjoy
benefited.
doing is
ORCA.
making the back of house behind the camera people laugh, and the more they stifle their laughter, the better. Okay, sorry, you can edit that out if you desire.
That is.
Oh no, we're keeping this in. Also, Netflix, please sponsor us. Continue.
All right, cool. Okay, so yeah, right.
You were
so,
talking about rabbit holes.
Yes, we're talking
AI,
about the AI.
But before we did
labyrinth.
that, we were going to.
We were going to take a step back, and I guess, like, given your many years of experience of teaching and educating, and your profound knowledge, I'm used to all of the golden nuggets of wisdom that you're dropping, but I'm never tired of them because they're always very innovative. So I guess, what pieces of advice can you give to the students listening around what are the key skills? Like, I mean, we mentioned communication, public speaking. Like,
Yep.
what other skills? Like, do you think AI is one of them? Like, like, what are some of the stuff that you think is going to be super relevant for the students that are about to graduate in the next, say, like 2-3 years?
I'm going to give you what many people consider a very unexpected answer to come from somebody like
Okay.
me. And it's not a new piece of wisdom. It has predated us to many structures of philosophy and belief. And that's self-reflection.
Self-reflection.
I think that idea of, we can look at this very practically. What am I good at? Where do my skills lie? Where do my talents lie? Excellent starting place, which then says, therefore, what are the practical skills I'm going to train in? What are the strengths I'm going to further leverage? What are the weaknesses that I will choose to offset with strengths or with training or what have you, and therefore move on? That does not practically come about from listening to a podcast. Okay, it's a very useful nudge to listen to podcasts, to think about, therefore, what are some skills, what are some ideas, what are some values that resonate with me, which I will then reflect on and pursue. But then when it comes to all sorts of grand questions, what are all the new trends I ought to care about? How do I manage work-life balance? I prefer the term work-life integration, but that's a different topic. How do I deal with conflicts that come about? I've got a difficult ethical dilemma in front of me. What do I do? Self-reflection, what sits true with me? What is my list of virtues? Where do I stand on particular issues? Is a skeleton key? Is universal currency for all of these things? So self-reflection is fundamentally very boring because the way one self-reflects, yes, you can journal, yes, you can go through apps and all that, but the way one self-reflects is to sit there and do nothing.
Right.
And whatever mad thoughts, whatever, I love the word neuroses, whatever neuroses come to mind, whatever, there's a scientific term, whatever autobiographical thinking comes to mind, you listen to it with kindness, with patience, and see what happens. So, self-reflection is how I'd answer that question.
Yes.
A bit weird given the chattiness, the talkativeness that I have. I'm counseling,
No,
not
that's-
talking for a bit.
That's the golden nugget for the day, like self-reflection, right? I think, no, I agree. Like, I think self-reflection is a very important skill to have. I guess, back to the whole Beta Alpha Psi thing,
Sure.
because this is the Beta Alpha Psi podcast, and we're both, we both love Beta Alpha Psi.
We do.
So what are some of the key skills that Beta Alpha Psi can sort of help train its, members,
Yeah.
to have and make them workforce ready? And how does that set them apart from other organizations?
Do you want
as
my
well?
perspective as a faculty advisor or a chapter advocate
Wears
or somebody
any
who
of the
works
hats.
in industry? University is a workplace, so we can think about that.
I will take any and every answer that you.
You'll
might
take
wanna have.
any and every answer that you'll get. Okay, let me quickly
Throwing it right back at you,
Let
Fred.
me quickly prioritize what I would consider the most important. Okay. What I adore about Beta Alpha Psi, in parallel, in substitution with other organizations, other environments, is that it brings together a lot of people sharing a common pathway, common objective, which is the definition of a group. Okay. For what's very useful for this for students is that it is a career readiness organization, like many out there that can work in parallel or substitution. But I enjoy that breadth that organization, the breadth that this organization gives, and that pipeline, that storyline, that through line that exists. So a lot of other student organizations have a lot of technical topics. They have a lot of great focus topics that they care about. One of the selling points of Beta Alpha Psi is that because there's a faculty advisor, there is a stronger through line that goes through. As one cohort of leaders has their wonderful set of initiatives, they be the Alaskan Husky, they run around. We have all those wins, we have all those learnings. That gets preserved, that gets captured and brought through. So that is an immense advantage that we have because it brings that through line through people from the start of their university or college experience through to they become alumni. And when you become an alumni, you are very busy, other things happen in your life, and you would love to give back to your organization, your alma mater, but you don't necessarily have that time, or it's on your to-do list,
Right.
but then other things appear on top of your to-do list. So the structure of Beta Alpha Psi being housed within a department, being supported by a faculty advisor, I think gives a lot of difference and a lot of value in and around it.
There we go. I was gonna say we should plug the alumni, like, to try and get more involved, even though they're busy. But yeah,
I mean, they're busy, but who isn't busy?
exactly.
Even if you say all I do is sit around and play video games, that's a form of busyness. Everybody is very busy.
That's it. Look, Fred, thank you for. Oh, sorry. One last question. Actually.
okay.
One last question.
Not worthy
A
of
simple-
thanks yet. Okay.
What is your favorite Beta Alpha Psi memory?
My favorite Beta Alpha Psi
In addition to
memory-
Auckland 2017.
In addition to Auckland 2017.
Which, I don't know. Is that your...
I'm sorry to say, Mangala, that is not my favorite Beta Alpha Psi
all
memory.
right.
Everybody has different favorites. So my favorite Beta Alpha Psi memory, you'd prompted me on this, and then in contrast with every other thing, which I've thought about before, I haven't really thought about this one, but luckily you prompted me, so I had thought about it. So I'll answer this in two ways.
Yes.
The first way is that every ongoing moment, every lived and now and present moment is such a delight. because one of the things I'm trying to practice
Yes.
is here and now, in contrast to ruminating or laying a golden luster or sheen on, the word is nostalgia, that's the word I'm looking at, come on Fred, on the past, around what was wonderful, or in contrast to things suck, so I envisage a nicer future. Right. So I, as part of self-reflection, I'm trying to be a lot more in the present moment,
yes.
which means that the present moment is always such a good memory to then be replaced by the next present moment. Okay, but to answer your question in a more conventional sense, one of the things I enjoy...
I love it, by the way. I love these golden nuggets of wisdom.
I'm
glad you're on the podcast.
I will always
knows.
answer the question you raise, but sometimes I will choose to also, in addition, answer a different question. So, did you answer the question in a more conventional manner?
Yes.
One of my favorite memory, not one of my favorites, you've asked me for my favorite, so I'll give you my favorite, is when you look back and you see a through line, like almost fated destiny that comes about. So I remember when I did my first and only job interview at the University of Auckland, where I still work. I had one other interview before that for a role, which was to be a librarian at high school, but let's not count that. It wasn't a paid position. It was a volunteer just to make sure I was a sensible person. So during my job interview, you always get to the end of these things, and they say, well, Fred, do you have, or your name here, do you have any questions for us? And because I prepared for my job interview, I was like, I know they're going to ask this, so I will have an answer. So I said, one of the things I enjoy is coaching and helping encourage great students excel further.
Yeah.
And so if there's anything like that at the university, I would love to get involved in it.
Right.
I was met by intrigued but fundamentally polite and blank stares from the rest of the committee going, well, we didn't expect anybody to ever say this. How do we answer it? It's been a long day. So I decided that let's let the question slide. Okay, I've done my part. I've answered every question from an honest way. So then nothing comes about it. And then, lo and behold, where do I find myself? I find myself in charge of, first at the University of Auckland, now as a region, a student organization that encourages excellence in students and encourages and lift them up. So sometimes the through line is very neat, but that was my favorite recollection.
And the stars are aligning.
The thing I wanted was put out there into the universe, and then many years later was given to me.
You manifest it.
Manifest.
You manifest.
Slow manifest, slow burn.
Slow manifest. All right. Thank you so much, Fred. It's been a delight having you on the podcast. And thank you.
I always seek and enjoy opportunities to talk with you, Mangala. So thank you for letting me be here, inviting me to be here.
Absolutely. I was like, we got to get Fred on this podcast. So.
For why, I don't know. But
well, precisely for everyone listening in, I'm sure they would agree. It's been a delight listening to all of the golden nuggets of wisdom that you're dropping, and also answering things in an unconventional, but then also a conventional manner. Supposedly, because what I think many years ago you did tell me what defines convention, or what defines normal, or something like that, right? So that kind of stuck in my head and really led me to a kind of a quarter-life crisis.
That feels like an old grandpa in a 37-year-old body, Fred. Well, it was a few years ago. Feels like an old grandpa thing to say, which is probably why I did say it.
Well, I mean, like, it did cause me to question a quarter-life crisis.
The nature of
for half of a regional
existence.
meeting, but let's that's for another topic. Anyway, thank you to everyone for tuning into this week's episode. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us from whatever platform you're tuning in from. Please check out our show notes for our various social media pages and to get your official BAP swag. Fred, thank you once again for joining us as our special guest for this week. This fortnight. It's been such a pleasure to hear your story, and as I said, always love to hear your golden nuggets of wisdom. And with that, to our listeners, we'll see you on the next episode of Becoming a Professional.
Hey everyone, Riley here with the credits. This episode, titled Nuggets of Wisdom with the ORCA, was hosted by Mangala Persetia, produced by myself, Riley Ramos, and accompanied by our special guest, Fred Ung. Music was sourced from Resolute Audio and Fine-Tune Music on Adobe Stock. Huge shout out to Beta Alpha Psi for their financial support and keeping the podcast going strong. If you haven't already, please join the alumni and member network. Details can be found in the show notes. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode of Becoming a Professional.